A few weeks ago, the bishop summoned all of the priests together for a 2-day conference on wellness, how to stay well in this era where the demands are so great and the numbers are so few. And we got to hear a lot of really good presentations there. Among them was someone from CDPHP talking about how to stay healthy in stressful times. And they had some very interesting statistics there. They said that for the longest time, the number one stress in the lives of most American families is, you probably are filling in the blank right now, money. That's the number one stress for most families. How are we going to pay the bills? They said, but in the last group of data that they got, they saw that the number two had changed from earlier times. It turned out that in past times, people were very worried about their health as their number two biggest stress, but not this past year when they did the research. This past year, the number one worry was money, but the number two was politics. Isn't that interesting? Jesus told us that his greatest wish for humanity is unity. That's what the gospel is sharing today. Father, I came here so that they would be one, as you and I are one. So for us to be unified, we have to be able to take delight in our differences, because in our own community, there are just so many different kinds of people, and we're not known for being an extraordinarily diverse community. We are called, with all the diversity that is in our community and our nation and our world, to become as close to each other as the Father is to Jesus. That's his greatest wish for us. And interestingly, it might be hidden from us, but it's our greatest wish too. Hollywood does research. The film industry is always doing research to try to figure out what kind of movies really affect people. What kind of movie would they be able to market and be sure that the theater would be full? And so in order to do this testing, they filled a theater with people and they hooked them up to all the same kind of monitors that you would have if you were in the ICU. And they gauged the effects of the movies they were showing on people's emotions. And this is what they found. When they show moments of reconciliation, where two people who once hated each other are now brought back together and are hugging, there's a 95% tear rate. 95% of people, if you show them a scene of people who once disagreed with each other, once hated each other, embracing, it's a 95% tear rate. And the research said it was even slightly higher if the two people that had been apart and were now back together were family. Isn't that telling? At my last parish, one of my last parishes, St. Mary's in Coxsackie, we had a message board ministry. We put a little message board, one of those boards that restaurants put out for their daily specials. We put it on the street with an inspirational message that changed every week. And one of our volunteers, Diane, was in charge of researching and coming up with the right message for every week. It struck me that on the 20th anniversary of the September 11th attacks, this is what she chose to put on the sign. 9/11/2001, the day America came together. And I thought, 20 years later, how strange that our memory of that time was that it was when we were more unified. Isn't that interesting? That the hardest thing that we've ever gone through as a nation in our lifetime was a time when we kind of hearkened back to how united we all were. Who ever dreamed that we would look back with any fondness for any part of September 11th? I think that's because it seems like our culture has lost our taste for unity. It's almost like we've developed dementia and we've forgotten what our main goal really is. We've stopped aiming for it. A lot of us don't even aim for unity anymore. And we have to reclaim the taste that we have for unity. We have to begin again. For us to have unity, it requires that we choose each other over anything else. That our bridge to others cannot be burned down. We have to choose each other over our opinions and over our ideas. Each other have to be even more important than some of the values that are important to us, because Jesus says this is the highest value. I pray, Father, that they will be one. This is the ultimate goal, he says, of his mission and of our lives on earth. So sometimes unity requires us to be illogically kind and patient with people. We have to be extravagantly loving, even when people don't deserve it. A few years ago, I was in one of my favorite places on vacation with some friends, Wells Beach in Maine. I know a lot of us love to go to that area. And one morning we were at one of those pancake houses where you always run into upstate New Yorkers when you're away on vacation, because we're all at the same beach. And I wound up making friends with the woman at the table next to us. She was a total stranger, but I ordered the omelet special and she got the French toast. And she very playfully from her table looked over and said, "Man, I wish I got that. That looks better than what I got." And I said, "I was thinking the same thing about your French toast." So you know what happened next. I cut my omelet in half and she gave me half her French toast, and we were just, the whole table was just squealing with delight at how unusual this was and how people never do this, and it was just delightful, and we were just having a great time. And so we heard a loud voice from across the restaurant, and we half expected that it was someone else on vacation wanting to join the party. But what we heard next was, "With the way you guys are carrying on, you seem to think you're the only people in this restaurant. Would you shut up so we can enjoy our breakfast in some peace?" I didn't even know how to react, because I was expecting it to be someone like that woman kind of chiming in, giving me their sausage from across the restaurant. So we didn't know. We sat there in silence. It was a real buzzkill. And then do you know what that woman who shared her French toast with me said? I'll never forget it. She said, "You know, he's obviously going through a hard time. Happy people don't act like that. I'm going to pay his bill." And then that spread to the rest of us at the table. Some of us at first were like, "Heck no." But then we said, "You know, that's so true. Nobody would act like that." I thought, even though it was a very jarring experience, I would much rather be the one in my seat who was told I was rude and loud than be him after he said that and then has to sit with that table of friends kind of wondering, did I do the right thing? Right after all the oxygen had been pulled out of the air in the restaurant. So, together as a table, we bought his meal and the meals of all the other people at his table, and we didn't tell anybody. We just walked out. And you know what the gift of that was? I haven't thought about that in a long time, because it was just a pleasant day. I don't find myself rehearsing in my head over and over again when I think about that pancake house. Oh, that's for that guy. Because do you know what happens in a tug of war when you want to end it? You just drop the rope. You just drop the rope, and suddenly the tug of war is over. If what we care about is each other more than winning, we can drop the rope. And all of a sudden, what was so tense and so hard can become so peaceful. And the faster we drop it, the better off we are. We're not grunting and sweating. And so I don't have a memory from breakfast that bothers me. I have one that delights me. But it required dropping the rope, which my instincts told me not to do. Heck no. And actually, when we gave the waitress the money to pay that guy's bill, she said, "Don't you dare." And we said, "No, we're going to do it." That's how fun-loving we are. We share breakfast with strangers, and we buy the breakfast bill for curmudgeons. What a fun story to tell. It wouldn't be if we hadn't dropped the rope. The reason that telling that story fills this church with smiles and laughter is because unity is what we really want. It's what we really are aiming at. And stories of unity overcoming division make audiences in Hollywood test kitchens cry. And it's what Jesus said he wanted more than anything. Now we realize it's what we want most of all, too.